everybody. It's nice to see you. There's nobody else in this room, so I'm going to take this mask off. And forgive my messy hair. I have COVID head. I haven't had a haircut, and Abby's going to give me a haircut today. So this mask is coming off, and so are my hearing aids. So this goes back on, and the mask comes off. Park my hearing aid back in there, put my glasses back on, my cool St. Andrew's hat, and my cool St. Andrew's shirt, and my St. Andrew's mask. Yay! St. Andrew's is cool. Yay! So I felt like being all spirit weared out for St. Andrew's today. So I have all my St. Andrew's stuff. Yay! Okay. Nice to see you. Kind of. I'm thinking of all of you in my mind, so I'm kind of seeing you, and you're seeing me. And before too long, we might get to be back together, I hope. Brighter days are ahead. We could be in the classroom, even watch a Lucas the Spider video together. Yay! But for first thing, we have to move the church calendar. So we're on the fourth Sunday of Lent now. So I'm going to move it one spot. So now we're on the fourth Sunday of Lent, and I'm going to regroup here and get ready for the story, and I have some cool things to show you too, so don't go away. Hi again. I'm going to do one of the things I love in Godly Play class, and that's sharing the desert with you, because the desert is important for a lot of stories. It's a special place to me. It can be, we've read about it being a dangerous place that people don't go unless they have to. People get lost. There's very little to eat or drink, so people can die if they don't get enough water, or die if they don't get enough food. It's always moving. People get lost. The desert is a dangerous place. People only go there if they have to. We've heard those words a lot before. And the desert is a dangerous place, but it's also a really magical place. It is to me. And sometimes people really do go to the desert on purpose. If you're, you know what you're getting into, and you're prepared either mentally, or you're prepared with the right stuff, or enough gas, or whatever, the desert's a magical place too. You can learn a lot in the desert. You can think a lot in the desert. You can come in contact with God in the desert, I think. I did that in September of 2019. I went home to the desert I grew up in, and I went there all by myself. And I toured around and saw places I hadn't seen for 20 or 30 years, and it was magical, and I didn't feel lonely. I felt like I was kind of in touch with God. It was truly cool. So I'm going to share a couple pictures and a little short video with you. I'm going to just film it on the phone. I hope it'll work. You'll get the idea. And think about that the desert, we've read, it is a dangerous place, but it can also be a magical place full of love and connection with God and new ideas. So here goes. I'm going to flip the screen. Hopefully I can flip the screen. Okay, I flipped the screen, and you can see I'm ready for my story. We have a candle. A couple of the tiles are out there from last time's story, and I'm ready for this one. So I'm going to get this started, and listen very closely, because you can hear a little of the desert maybe. This is the desert I grew up in. Look, there's nobody on that highway. And there wasn't anybody on that highway for a really long time. And then once a car came by, and there was a lot of quiet again. And now let me show you a few other things. Here we go. How about that picture? Isn't that cool? That's what sunsets look like in the desert. I just think that's cool looking. That's what it really looked like. That's not like because of how the camera's working. That's how it really looked. The glow behind the mountains and all that darkness. Isn't that interesting? It just doesn't quite look like that out here. Let me find another one. There's one. There's way out in the middle of the desert again. I just think that's beautiful. And when I was out there, maybe one or two cars came by every, not very frequently, but I didn't feel alone. I'd been out there with my dad and brother when I was little, and maybe I was feeling love from that. I think I was feeling love from God too. I just love it out there. Let me show you another one. Oh, there's a little town, Eureka, California. Look like there's an old Wild West looking building in the back. See it? The Eureka Opera House. And that's me taking a selfie. Cool, huh? I loved it out there. Okay, friends, I switched the camera back, and now I get to talk to you a little bit more, and then we'll start our story. So, we just saw the desert, and we thought about how the desert's a dangerous place, but it's also some place that you might go intentionally with, the right preparation. And, it's a place of maybe feeling love, meeting God, seeing just remarkable beauty, and learning some things. The desert's special in a lot of ways. The other thing to think about, so keep the desert in your mind. The other thing to think about is this question. Have you ever dove into the deep end of the swimming pool, and when you push into the water, now you feel like you're kind of cut off and you're surrounded by all that water, and you feel bubbles and see bubbles, and you kind of see fuzzy because you're looking in the water, and then poof, you come back out of the water again, and what that feels like. Kind of think about that too, because that feeling figures into our story today. So I'm going to switch the camera once more and get it all set up, and then we'll launch into our story. So don't go away. Okay, I'm back, and I tilted the camera so it's right on our story now, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So it's a pretty cool story. Last couple weeks we talked about Jesus' birth, and then when he was lost and he was in the temple, and now we're going to talk about his baptism. So here's a tile to look at, and you can see a picture of Jesus, and then you can see John the Baptist. Look how wild he looks. So we're going to talk about that. Jesus waded into the river until he was face to face with John. Jesus said, "Baptize me." John looked at Jesus as if for the very first time. Now he saw who Jesus really was. And John asked, "How can I baptize you? You are the Messiah, the one we have been waiting for. You must baptize me." But Jesus said, "No, it is written that you will come before me and show people the way. Baptize me." So John baptized Jesus. When it happened, Jesus went down into the darkness and chaos of the water. He dove in. He was in the water. When John lifted Jesus back out of the water into the light, there were people there, and they saw what had happened, and they saw a dove come down from heaven, and the dove came close to Jesus. And then they heard a voice. They heard a voice say, "This is my beloved Son, with whom I am well pleased." After Jesus was baptized, he went across the river into the desert. There he stayed for 40 days and 40 nights to learn more about who he was and what his work was going to be. I'm going to move these. And we'll get the next tile. So here's the next one. Jesus went into the desert to discover more about who he was and what his work was going to be. He was there for 40 days and 40 nights. There was little to eat or drink. One day he heard a voice. The voice said, "Why don't you turn one of those stones into bread and have something to eat?" Jesus said, "No, to be a real human being, we need more than just bread to eat." Suddenly it was as if Jesus were on top of a great temple in Jerusalem, and the voice said, "If you are really the Son of God, why don't you jump and see if God sends the angels to catch you before you hit the stones below?" And Jesus answered, "No, we do not need to test God." Then it was as if Jesus could see all the kingdoms of the world. And the voice came back again, and it said, "If you follow me, I will make you king over all these kingdoms." All those kingdoms Jesus could see. But Jesus answered, "No, I am to be king, but not that kind of king." So the voice went away. Jesus went back across the Jordan and began to do his work. But what was his work? So we just heard a story of John the Baptist baptizing Jesus and then Jesus going out into the desert. And the desert is a dangerous place, but it's also a place of great learning and beauty and contact with God. So to me, that part of the story, is kind of special. Now, Jesus' experience in the desert was truly unique and of Jesus. But we all can have spiritual experiences in nature. Go into a pretty forest and maybe feel God's presence. Or for me, going out to the desert and feeling God's presence. Sometimes it's a sacred place. Sometimes it's the church building. There are lots of places that God comes so close to us and we come so close to God that the separation is smaller. And, it's important to find those times and think about what they mean and what you can learn from them. That's something we can all do. So the story is about Jesus, but there's things that touch on all of us. So for the rest of the time, before Easter, think about find God in wherever you are, even with all this pandemic stuff. Find God and happiness wherever you are. So with that kind of illuminating thought from my candle, I'm going to leave you, and I hope you have a nice couple weeks, and Easter's coming, and spring is coming, and normal life is coming. So in the meantime, be well, wear your mask, wash your hands, get your shot when if your parents should get their shot when they're eligible, and then they're doing studies and stuff so that kids will be able to get the shot too sometimes, and, take care. All will be well. So until then, bye, my friends. I'll see you soon.